Hi folks, it's just me, your friendly neighborhood Walter Shepherd. Everybody that's usually in the house, they're all out of town on holidays. So lucky me, I get the whole house to myself. I don't have to do a video report from the camper. Anyway, this is just kind of a follow-up to the video that I was talking about before, about leaving messages behind. I've left a lot of notes, even the novel that I was working on. If people in the tribulation period take the time to get to read it, they'll know all about what's going on during the 1,000 years of peace and the short time in tribulation before that. But I doubt that's going to happen because people who are looting houses after the rapture, they're going to be more interested in finding food and water than they are in actually reading anything. But the Holy Spirit could put it on someone's heart to take the time and actually read something like that. And so what I was suggesting is just leaving behind short little timelines and nothing too complicated. Because if it gets complicated again, they may take it and they may not. But if it's something simple, they may find it interesting, and the Holy Spirit can speak to them through that. Anyway, in terms of something complicated, here's something that I left behind, a timeline as such. This one here, you see, it starts off with Adam and Eve, and then it goes all the way through the flood, and then the rapture, 7-year tribulation period, and then it leads to the 1,000 years of peace. But what makes it complicated is I do a timeline history of the fallen angels, the rebellion in heaven, cast down, and then it goes down to B, the fallen angels, how they create the Nephilim, then it goes up to C, yada, 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 and then it just, it gets a little complicated. But still, it makes the point that eventually the timeline after the rapture is going to be a 7-year tribulation period, and then there's going to be Armageddon, and then the 1,000 years of peace. So that's just one. Like I said, it's a little complex, a little complicated, but somebody could take the time to actually read it. Otherwise, I showed you this one before. It's a more simple version. This one I call the believer's timeline. And it's in basic sections because it takes place after the rapture. The rapture happens, and then left behind is the martyrs and the perfect man. Again, call him something other than the Antichrist, because everybody left behind in the tribulation, they're not going to see him as the Antichrist. So there's the 7-year tribulation right there, and at some point the 2 witnesses show up, and then their bodies, along with the martyrs, because the martyrs have to be beheaded as well, and they will eventually be raptured as well, because they have to join us in the wedding supper with our raptured and regenerated bodies, and eventually we will come back down for the Battle of Armageddon. And then after the Battle of Armageddon is the 1,000 years of peace. And then there we will be searching for the remnant of Armageddon. And after the 1,000 years of peace comes the final time of judgment, and then God's new heaven and earth. The 1,000 years of peace is Jesus' new heaven and earth, and the time after that is God's new heaven and earth, when he combines earth and heaven and brings the holy city down here all together. Okay, that's just another smaller one, but I have a larger one as well. It's a little more simple, but wait, let me show you the other one first before I get to that one. Okay, this one, it is still fairly complex, but at the same time it breaks everything down into a little more detail. Right now we are living in the 21st century, the reign of the flesh. Eventually we will have the reign of Christ, of Jesus, during the 1,000 years of peace. Then after that will come the reign of God. And so it starts off in 2014, and no, I'm not saying the blood or the rapture was going to happen. 2014 is when the tetrad, the blood moon, started. And at some point, the Antichrist shows up, and he builds the 3rd temple. And then there's a 7-year peace treaty, or some type of covenant, and the rapture happens in and around that period. It doesn't say exactly when, but it says it does happen during the 7-year tribulation. And then after that, at some point there, we get the seals are being opened, the trumpets are being blown, and the wrath of God is being poured out. The believers are martyred or are beheaded, and then eventually they are martyred. Marriage supper of the lambs. It's basically the same sort of thing, but it's got a little more detail about what's going on. Jesus, Lord of Lords, King of Kings, comes down. Satan's downfall. The world gets judged. The Jewish people set up the world that they're going to be running. The remnant of survivors are gathered. The first day, the sun is expanded. Yada yada yada. And then after the 1,000 years of peace comes the end of the millennium and the final time of judgment for all of mankind. Oh yeah, and before that, at that point, Satan is let loose for a little while to tempt the flesh, not the raptured people, not the regenerated people, because they're untemptable, but the people that have grown up, the survivors of Armageddon. Final time of judgment, and then after that, God moves the heavenly city down to earth, and then Earth's timeline goes on for the rest of eternity. Heaven and earth are combined. God's new heaven and new earth of peace. And again, that's a little complicated, but still, it tells the whole story about what's going to be happening from the time of the rapture all the way through to God's eternal home and eternity. And this one is a little more simple. I did this one a while ago. It's very simplified. And this is the beginning. Adam and Eve around 4000 BC, approximately. We don't know exactly when. And the blue outline, that's time. And so Adam and Eve and the mankind goes along. And then there's the flood at about 2348 BC. And then right now we are living in the age of grace, of sin and Satan. And the BC era, that's when Jesus came along, hence the cross, and he came out of heaven. And now we move along to the rapture, 7-year tribulation, and Armageddon. It all falls in that little piece of time right there. Because then we get into the 1,000 years of peace. 3 basic timelines, and then God comes down and God makes see the holy city sitting on the earth there. And so earth is going through a number of different transitions. We had one earth of Adam and Eve, and we had the second earth after Noah and the flood. We'll have a third earth, the 1,000 years of peace. Then when God comes down, we'll have a fourth earth that will be made totally perfect. And it takes 7,000 years to refine mankind. So we can go from a sinful fallen state all the way to the state where we're totally perfect and nobody makes mistakes. Okay, and that's about that. So in your own way, it doesn't even have to be with pictures. Just a simple point form sort of single page that people can read so that they know that people whose houses they are looting, if they're Christians, they can see that these Christians knew what was going to happen. They knew there was going to be a rapture. They knew there was going to be a perfect man who's going to turn out to be the Antichrist. They knew that there was going to be a time of tribulation, days of darkness, all these problems and wraths and bowls and seals and trumpets being poured out on mankind. But also let them know that the best way, or the only way that they can get into heaven, if they're alive during the tribulation, is to allow themselves to be put into an internment camp and have their heads chopped off for the sake of Jesus. And that's the only way they can get into heaven. But let them know that there's still a great time coming. There's not only heaven that we get to enjoy for all eternity, but there's also the 1,000 years of peace, and then the new earth after that extends on for all eternity. Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Be blessed wherever you are in internet land and YouTube world, and be a blessing to those in your life, the believers and the non-believers, because they can always use it. So take care, stay in prayer. We'll see you in Jesus' kingdom somewhere over there, or maybe even up in the air. Okay? Take care. Jesus rules.